UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Ankalaev 2, the first event of 2024. It's over. It was a phenomenal event. Great way to start off the new year. Did okay on the picks. We went 7-4. Main event 0-1, but I mean, anybody that's talking shit about getting this pick right by picking Magomed Ankalaev, like, don't pat yourself on the back too hard, man. That was kind of a... Anyways, I don't want to get too crazy already. Okay, starting from the beginning of the night. Prelims, Joshua Van versus Felipe Bunes. Great fight for Joshua Van, proving again why he deserves the legitimate title of prospect. He's a real prospect. He's a real prospect, very young. He's getting better with each fight. I will say a spooky trend. You know, nobody's invincible, but Joshua Van's chin is able to be touched. It's able to be touched. Now he has a chin. That's the good part about that. He has a chin, but it can be touched. Either way, phenomenal victory to Joshua Van. Great way to start off the new year, just for not only for yourself but for the UFC as well, with a TKO. Absolutely beautiful, landing monstrous combinations on Felipe. Great win, lad. I'm very excited to seeing your career and you going forward. Moving on. The parlay smoker, the parlay killer, the big boy, Tom Nolan versus Nikolas Motta. Now, Nikolas Motta, congratulations, my brother. You needed that one. That was a great victory for you. Everyone picked Tom Nolan. Everyone's bets got smoked, unless you picked Nikolas Motta. And if you did pick Nikolas Motta, aside from the bets, if you legitimately picked him, aside from his value as an underdog, respect. A lot of respect to you. For real. The matchmakers knew what they were doing. And like I said, Tom Nolan, completely untested, also has the fight IQ of like a walnut. So there's that. Won't be the last that I think we'll be seeing of Tom Nolan, but spooky hours moving forward. Spooky hours moving forward. He went out like fucking Cameron Van Camp, for Christ's sake. Cameron Van Camp, actually, that's disrespect to Cameron Van Camp. Cameron Van Camp put on a hell of a fight again, if you're taking that into perspective. Great win for Nikolas Motta. We move on. Weston Wilson versus Gene Silva. Not the typical sacrificial bout that we're used to. It's as simple as this. Weston Wilson is not a UFC caliber fighter. He showed that even though he had a better fight than his debut. He was never meant to be in the UFC. He came in as a short notice replacement for Joe Anderson Brito and promptly was treated as such. He did a lot better in this fight, you know. He lasted longer in that sense, but he was still a walking punching bag and got absolutely ragdolled, violated. Shout out to Gene Silva, Lord Assassin. Very entertaining fight. Good way to keep it going. Excuse me. And the fight started out amazing. 3 fights, 3 KO TKOs. Absolutely wonderful. What more can you ask? Now the next one, Farid Basharat versus Taylor Lapilou, as I call him. Taylor Lapilou. Taylor Lapilou. Was a phenomenal fight as well. You know, maybe no one got finished. It was a decision, which I called for Ed Basharat by decision, but it was still a great fight. Taylor Lapilou, to his credit, showed a lot of improvement, especially in takedown defense, even though he already was pretty good just strictly defensively, keeping dudes from taking him down. He was really good. Like I said, though, Farid has the stand-up comparable to Taylor's, and he showed that, you know. A very solid win for Farid, keeping the undefeated streak going at 12-0. Very nice, lad. Good pick. And the Tom Nolan shit had scared me. I'm actually going back to the Tom Nolan fight real quick, because anybody that was paying attention will realize, sun's kind of coming in on me now. I have to go back into the shadow. But new background, standing and everything. Like I was saying, anybody that was listening to Nikolas Motta during his walkout, right when they show you the UFC stats and the ref gives them the pat down and check and cup check and mouth guard check, all that stuff. Michael Bisping was saying Nikolas Motta's game plan, what Nikolas Motta had told Michael Bisping the game plan was against Tom Nolan, and it was actually fantastic. It was to blitz Tom Nolan, not to let him go first, just pressure him and get him the fuck out of there. Excuse me. And it worked. I got scared the second I heard him saying that stuff as he was walking into the octagon. And that was just a game plan thing, really. Like, that when people talk about, oh, this dude has veteran experience, they're typically thinking about during the fight. They've been in situations, they know how to handle and react to certain moves, certain styles. But I think this is one of the best examples of having veteran knowledge, like being a crafty vet. You know, the dude knew how to plan against him. And Nikolas Motta, like I said in my first prediction, despite not picking Nikolas Motta, he knows how to fight big dudes. He knows how to fight big dudes, and he knew how to win this fight. Cameron Van Camp is a he's comparable in size, extremely comparable in size to Tom Nolan. That was the one thing I said about this pick. He might not be able to win this fight, which now we know he was able to win this fight in emphatic fashion, but he knew how to win the fight. He knew the game plan, and I actually feel proud of myself for picking that up, at least, before these fights. But, hey, big shout-out to Nikolas Motta again. Going back, Farid Basharat, yes, that's what I was saying. Farid Basharat, great fight. Great, solid decision win. You know, everyone wants to see a finish, but fuck it. That was a great win. Solid performance. No one could doubt it. Good shit for Farid. But decent performance from Taylor as well. I'm actually interested in seeing Taylor's next fight. Moving on. The first fight that I considered to be spooky hours, and it wasn't that spooky. It actually kind of just went the way I thought it was ultimately going to go. This fight being Gaston Bolaños, my Peruvian brother, versus Marcus the Maniac McGee, like the fucking protagonist of the titular novel. He pulled it through for us once again. Absolutely outclassed and demolished Gaston Bolaños. I initially picked Gaston Bolaños, I switched back and forth a couple times, ultimately settled on Marcus McGee. He had been good to me. I'd picked him in his previous two fights versus JP Bays, and then in his debut versus Journey Newson. Both great fights, even though maybe we didn't see the full extent of Marcus's skills in the JP Bays fight. We saw a decent amount of him in the Journey Newsom fight, and just the vibe, you know, both of these fights combined, just... And now this performance really adds to his reputation. Marcus McGee is him. He's fucking scary. It's spooky hours. He lives up to his name of Maniac. He will violate you. He will violate you on the feet. He really will. Fucking outclassed a world champion Muay Thai specialist, really, in Gaston Bolaños. A dude who really lays dudes out and knows how to strike. He knows how to work with his hands and feet. Just not as good as Marcus McGee if you throw in the factors of takedowns and grappling in there, you know? In MMA, it's a little different, but hey. Big shout out to fucking Gaston Bolaños. These dudes were supposed to fight, I think, actually a while back. Glad they made the fight now. It was fire. It was a great fight. Marcus pieced him up the entire time. I mean, what could I say? He pieced him the fuck up for the finishing combination. They said spinning heel kick was the one that finished it off. I completely disagree in that, even though the spinning heel kick, when I peeped it, I thought it bounced off the guard, and then another angle, it looked like it kind of clipped him. It was that last straight punch, or like the jab that Marcus threw that really finished it, and it was an entire sequence. It wasn't like spinning back kick finished him. No, he was getting fucked up on the feet for a good minute and a half before that. Like, it was a dominant win and a tremendous, juicy finish for Marcus the Maniac McGee. Let's fucking go. Good shit, my boy. 3-0 for us. 3-0 in the UFC and 3-0 for us, Marcus McGee. We'll remember that. We'll remember that, my brother. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, this was real spooky hours. This was the second, if you watched my first video, if you watched my prediction video, you'll know that this was actually fucking spooky hours. Preston Parsons versus Matthew Semmelsberger. Let's just get right into it. I was saying Preston Parsons really isn't the worst underdog to have, and he actually has deceptive hands. All of that came through. All of that was shown in his fight. Fucking Matthew Semmelsberger, man, he kind of just... I think this was twofold. One, Preston Parsons fought amazingly. He put on a splendid performance. He really pushed himself from start to finish. He did not stop on the pressure, hence his name. And it paid off massively for him. Excuse me. Paid off massively for him. I was saying, Matthew Semmelsberger really kind of also dropped this on the other side of this coin where Preston Parsons put on an amazing performance. Matthew Semmelsberger also kind of had a dog shit performance, in my opinion. I really think that he's better than that. Now I don't know. But man, I thought Preston Parsons was going to do something like what he did. But I thought Matthew was going to be able to just ride it out and catch him one time. I thought he was going to catch him one time, drop him, and this, ultimately, looking back on it, I thought this, for whatever reason, as opposed to any other time it's happened in his fucking career, he has a trend of doing this, he would actually finish Preston Parsons if he knocked him down for the one time, but no, I don't even think he knocked him down, actually, the entire time. He didn't really even land anything. No, he was landing. You know, Preston Parsons took some damage. But Preston Parsons fucking split open Matthew Semmelsberger's forehead in like round 1 or round 2 or some shit. Like, it was tough, man. A dominant fight for, not the most dominant fight for Preston Parsons, but great win for Preston Parsons. Great underdog win. Little asterisk on that underdog win because he was an underdog for the majority of the time, except for about like fucking, when I checked the odds, like an hour, like 30 minutes before the fight, it went down to pick'em. And then it even went in favor on when they displayed it on the walkouts on the tail of the tape. I think it was pick'em, but it was not pick'em if you looked on DraftKings at that very moment. It was literally like fucking Matthew Semmelsberger minus 105 to like minus 115 for fucking Preston Parsons. So last minute switch, possibly fishy. Maybe people know something that we don't. Who knows? Maybe Vegas. I don't think that was a Vegas call. I think it was people knowing something that we didn't, but. And not just normal things, like some questionable things, possibly. But let's not get too much. Let's not get into that right now. Great fucking win for Preston Parsons, man. Great win. Great way to show yourself, because everyone called Preston Parsons dog shit. I was saying Preston Parsons isn't the best, but he's deceptively good. He's nowhere near as bad as everyone says he is. Nowhere near as bad. Like I said, in every fight that he's had, including Matthew Semmelsberger, he's had moments with his hands. He's had very good moments with his hands where sometimes he catches his opponents outright, or his opponents are lacking, they're sleeping, and he catches them. And he puts them in a little bit of danger. Just a little bit of hot water. Big shout out to Preston Parsons. Great shit, brother. You needed that shit. Got a lot of respect from a lot of people, I think. That, I think, was the main Spooky Hours fight. I was saying I was possibly going to make 2 videos. I was going to make a video on Marcus McGee versus Gaston Bolaños. And then the video that I was kind of looking even more forward to making, but I just got lazy, and I didn't think that it was going to be like that. I really didn't think it was going to be like that, was Preston Parsons versus Matthew Semmelsberger. I'll say it one last time. Big round of applause. Big congratulations for Matthew Semmelsberger for pulling that out. For Matthew Semmelsberger. Fuck that. For Preston Parsons for pulling it out. Round of applause for Matthew Semmelsberger for getting in there, fighting a good fight. Thank you very much. For taking this fight on short notice, actually, excuse me, just almost knocked over my little art. I'll keep that in there. Well, treat for anybody watching right now. Big respect for Matthew Semmelsberger for stepping in on short notice, keeping this fight alive, and letting Preston Parsons do his job. Thank you very much. Thank you, Matthew. Moving on to an absolute dog shit fight, the worst fight of the night. Andrei Arlovski, and this is through no fault of his, versus Waldo Cortez Acosta, my Dominican, I was almost going to say brother, not my Dominican brother, my Dominican man's. God, man. This is like some shit we gotta like start getting on people about, for real. Like, it's not as bad. Follow me. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent here, so please follow me. We'll be walking. But like in Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington, when they ask him in the Octagon interview, oh, like, how, you know, did you feel like you were getting some payback for the things he said about your dad and the disrespect? And Leon's like, yeah, I knew I had to handle it. Like, blah, 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 blah. You didn't handle shit, brother. You took him to a fucking decision. Like, you didn't handle shit. You didn't handle shit. And that's the same thing. It's a similar thing. Waldo Cortez Acosta fucking taunting, literally dancing instead of engaging with Andrei Arlovski. Andrei's just staring at him like the bum he is. You got fucking Waldo Cortez, a round later, talking shit, like actually starting to talk. Don't get me wrong, I love when people talk shit. I love to kick a person when he's down. Like, talk shit, taunt, do whatever the fuck you need to do to get in the other person's head, even during the fight. I don't get, like, when people are like, oh, that's poor sportsmanship, punch the dude in the face. If you have a problem with it, punch the dude in the face. And that sentence that I just said might sound like hypocritical or even like an oxymoron compared to what I'm about to say, but just follow along. When you're standing there in front of a 44-year-old man, I don't give a fuck if he's a legend or not in the heavyweight division, and you're talking shit and you take him to a boring-ass decision, a fucking sleeper, we should stitch your mouth shut. We should stitch your mouth shut. It's a pleasure that you barely speak English, actually. His English isn't bad, I can tell you. But it's a pleasure that you really don't speak that much English and you're not just a fucking loudmouth, because that, I don't know how you can live with yourself talking shit in a fight that's still ongoing and you aren't, like completely washing the dude in. You know, you're winning. Or something like that. It was something like winning. Really. But, hey, Andre Arlovski held in there. He's going to get paid juicily. I hope fucking Cortez Acosta makes pennies on the dollar compared to Arlovski. For real. That shit was atrocious, man. Like, It makes me root for your next opponent, and I don't even know them yet. Like, that fight hasn't even fucking been announced, you know? That's one of those fights that it doesn't earn you fans. In fact, it does the opposite. It makes you lose them. It makes people root against you. Not even in a good way, like, oh, they're going to tune in to see. It's like, no. It's, if I hear that, oh, Waldo Cortez Acosta's fighting, fuck me. If it's a card that I want to watch, now I'm fucked. Two, though, if for some reason I miss the card, I'm just going to pray that when I check your fight, I see, oh, loss, KO, TKO. Beautiful. That would be fucking beautiful to me. Like, Waldo Cortez Acosta, you should feel ashamed with yourself, really, for that. Like, even though you won, that was horrible. And worst fight on the fucking card. Like, why'd you do that, bro? Listen, if Waldo walked out there, hit him with the Waldo, the fucking famous Waldo, the wild overhand right, from his time as a baseball player, if he did that and KO'd Andre Arlovski at any point in the fight, we wouldn't be having this conversation. No one would be saying shit about you, Waldo. And even if Andre fucking connected with that spinning back kick and KO'd you, it would be fine. Actually, no, because at that point in the fight, you had already been taunting and shit like that. So actually, it would have been fucking retribution for you to get KO'd there. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But you're dog shit. You're dog shit for someone that cuts weight. I don't know how the fuck you don't finish Andre Arlovski. Like, I'm getting too drawn in on this fight. Anyways, fuck it. It was a bum-ass fight. It's fight. Fuck him. And this is not Andre's fault, for real. Like, it is all Waldo Cortez Acosta's fault. Fuck him. You know, I picked him. I picked the man, for Christ's sake. Like, horrible, horrible, horrible. Sleeper fight. Sleeper-ass fight. That was a smoke break fight. Smoke break, let's flex, use the bathroom, get some drinks, like, cop, shit, we're out of papers, we need a wrap, go to the store. You know the vibes. Go pick up a chop. Like, that's a chop fight. That's like, oh, shit, time to get chop cheese. It's like, fuck it. Moving on to an actual good fight, a very anticipated fight for me, one that we picked correctly, even though it's kind of sad how it turned out, because it turned out the way everyone expected it to. Phil Hawes versus Brunno Ferreira. Again, Phil Hawes, actually, I will start out with this. Phil Hawes' chin held up very well until it didn't. Until it fucking didn't. And he just got laid flat on his back. Actually, more like, but, hey. That's what happens. Phil Hawes has all the skills necessary to be a fucking champion, literally, and he has the athleticism. He just has no chin. He has no chin. It's bizarre. It's like, in The Wizard of Oz, you know how, like, the Tin Man has no heart, the Scarecrow has no brain, and the Cowardly Lion, he needs courage. He has no courage. Phil Hawes could fit right in there as some kind of, like, character in The Wizard of Oz, and then they just take away his chin. He's just like a fucking, like a creature just from the mouth up. Just a chinless creature. God, I'm going hard on Phil Hawes. Fuck, brother. I'm sorry, bro. And I love you, man. Sorry. I don't mean to violate like this. But really, That's just what it is. Bruno Ferreira was able to tank your shots and just put you away eventually. Also, my son Bruno Ferreira coming out with the black hair, the no dye, which I kind of fucked with, and Phil Hawes with the bleached hair, harkening back to the ancient race of Super Saiyan. Unfortunately, he didn't have the Super Saiyan powers. Bruno Ferreira KO'd him. I think in round 1, or maybe in like the start. I think it was round 1. I don't think that fight left the first round. Great win for Brunno. Great win for Brunno. Great way to bounce back out off of your own KO loss in the first round. Great fucking way. I'm looking forward to seeing Bruno Ferreira's next fight. Phil Hawes, I don't know. I don't know, brother. Like, I think now, like, conversations need to be had with, like your head coach, your family, your fucking personal physician, and just see, you know, it sucks, but there's no shame. You've had a good career in the sense of you fought at the highest level against some of the best dudes in the world. There's nothing to look back on and be like, damn, I was dog shit. Not at all, brother. Not at all. Not at all. That makes it sound like I'm retiring fucking Phil Hawes. I'm not retiring Phil Hawes. It's just, it's really bad to see a dude lose in general, like in devastating fashion, get KO'd. But when they're only losing by being KO'd brutally, that's like a whole other like problem in and of itself. It's tough, but it's the reality of what could happen, you know? So you want to be a fighter. Moving on. Now, don't let that exhale fool you. I'm not like upset about this one. Other than the fact that my pick didn't win. That's really the only thing. The thing that makes me more upset is it's just one thing. It's that I picked Mario Batista first, similar to how I picked Gaston Bolaños, and I just hit the reverse, just not in my fucking favor, and I tweaked. And like 10% of that was emotional, but Jesus, excuse me. Like 10% of that was emotional. 90% of that was me thinking, Ricky Simón has fought dudes like Song Yadong, and even though he lost, he took a lot of his power up until the very end. You know, 5-round fight that went to the 5th round, so it'll be impossible for him to gas in the 2nd round, right? Hey, that's not the whole case of what happened, but Mario Batista, big shout out to you. I think Mario Batista, to me, had the most impressive performance on the card, just in all contexts. Like, everything involved with it, the level of competition that he was fighting, the step up in competition, which is what I said in my first prediction video, the step up in competition that he faced to fight Ricky Simón. That's a huge step up in and of itself. Big shout out to fucking Mario Batista for pulling this one off, because not only did he win, he won in actual dominant fashion. He fucking violated, took a teensy bit of damage, you know, had a bloody nose, got a little leaking a little bit, but hey, can't come out unscathed every time. I honestly thought the universe was gonna get, you know, payback, really, he can't get away with that one after what happened to Damon Blackshear. Justice for Damon Blackshear. Justice for Damon Blackshear. But no justice today. The MMA gods actually might even be dead. I was considering making a video on that like months ago before I even started making the picks videos, but Mario Batista just put on an absolute clinic. An absolute fucking clinic on the feet, with pace, with everything. Range. Like, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. Looked like a completely different fighter, if I'm being completely honest with you. Mario Batista has shown me such a crazy improvement that possibly he maybe even makes a run for the title. Who the fuck knows, honestly. Same with Marcus McGee. And the crazier part, too, is I didn't really do too much research about this. I think the both of them train with Sean O'Malley. Both Mario Batista and Marcus McGee. I'm like 99% certain Marcus McGee trains with Sean O'Malley, and that definitely rubs off on him, you know, but as well as the other guys in the gym that train with him. But hey, it really showed. But shout out to both Marcus McGee and obviously Mario Batista for winning their fights in devastating fashion. Even though Mario Batista got a decision, there was really no questioning it. The one thing that I did have to question now that I'm thinking about it, though, is I think 30-27 unanimous is absolutely fucking rigged. That's a Vegas call. 100%. I didn't look up the stats. It would make sense to me if they didn't count the, like, knockdown. Which was kind of a knockdown. I would get them not counting it because in the replay you saw it wasn't like it was massive damage, like a clean, like, shot on the chin that dropped Batista. It was just that Ricky had caught him beautifully while he was throwing that kick. Caught him on one leg, dropped him. Still dropped him, though. Like, I really don't... Are we going to get that nebulous into, like, knockdowns? Like, oh, that's not a knockdown. He got hit in the face, and then he fell. But that wasn't a knockdown. And, you know, obviously in boxing, there's slips and all that other bullshit. Sure. But I hope that it doesn't get to the point where, like, it's getting nebulous and, like, it's, like, these arbitrary decisions where it's similar to, like, a hit in baseball. Like, oh, that's not a hit. That's an error if the dude drops it or some other shit. I'm going to get into a whole other rant about that, like, basically now. In fact, I'm, like, almost rambling incoherently at this point, so we'll pull it back. Fucking great win for Mario Batista. 30-27 is a little suspect unless they're not counting that as a knockdown. Great win. Run back that fucking Damon Blackshear fight. If you want to get some real respect, brother. If you want to get real respect, Mario, you want to show people like you're the new up and coming 135er. You got to call up Damon Blackshear and get that fight back one more time. And I'm going with Damon in that one. Okay. The featured fight, Jim Miller versus Gabriel Benitez. Amazing fight, barn burner again, and it was something beautiful to watch. The leg kick combinations of Jim Miller was poetry in motion. Almost brought a tear to my eye. Like, literally getting a nice little hopping jab forward into the fucking whipped leg kick. Like, whip that. Like, you got, like, hands up, hands across, whip. Like, whip. Great. Massive power. Shit was fire. You could see the damage that Gabriel's legs were taking in the fight. I think it was his right leg specifically, above the knee on, like, the right side, the outside side. Great fight. Great performance for Jim Miller. Got a nice little finish at the end, too. Topped it off. Didn't walk out of there with that decision. And we will see Jim Miller on UFC 300. We will see him on UFC 300. Granted, this is prayers that he doesn't get injured. No fuck shit happens. No accidents, freak accidents. God bless. But looking forward to that. It was a great fight. Gabriel Benitez, keep your head up, brother. That was an absolute barn burner of a fight that could not have been as good as it was if it wasn't for the determination and the will, the heart of Gabriel to engage and make it a good fight. Hats off to both dudes. Excuse me. I said featured fight because I still have Manel Cap written on my fucking list. That was the co-main. That was moved up to the co-main, as you all know by now, or you should all know. Manel Cap versus Mateus Nicolau fell out at the last moment. I think it fell out on Thursday. Or maybe it was even Friday. Thursday or Friday it fell out. Manel Cap missed weight, came in at 128.5. Mateus Nicolau declined to keep the fight going, which is fair enough. I have nothing to say about that. That's fair enough. So we don't know how that went down. So that was the co-main, Jim Miller versus Gabriel Benitez, obviously resulting in a Jim Miller submission victory. Johnny Walker for the main event. Johnny Walker versus Magomed Ankalaev 2. Now, I know. Ooh! That's kind of how the Magomed Ankalaev shit was. The Johnny Walker fight went down, but as I get my thoughts together, it was tough, man. Dudes like Johnny Walker, I think dudes like that, they have that X factor, you know, there's something special about them. With Johnny, unfortunately, as sad as it might sound, it might be gone. It might be gone. But for a while he had it. You can't deny that. Ankalaev is good. Like I said, he's really good. He was technically sound. Striking's phenomenal. I just thought Johnny Walker was going to pull out that unorthodox technique just for the one time, a wild man technique, like a little fucking... Which he did. He did. And some people said he did worse in this fight than he did in the first one. I don't know. I just think he went to the well way too much with the spinning attacks, with the unorthodox strikes eventually. Like the spinning back fist, that was just like, what the fuck, brother? Like after the third time, literally after the third, you're just like, what are we watching? What are you doing, brother? Like you're like, this is not gonna end well for you. And it was going well up until Johnny got caught really bad and fucking broke his nose, grabbed his face on the second strike, went down. Yeah, people that picked Magomed, you know, that was kind of a simple pick, and that might sound like me being the fucking saltiest person in the world right now because I picked Johnny Walker, but no. You know, Magomed obviously was the heavy favorite for a reason. It is what it is. I decided to risk it by picking fucking Johnny Walker. I'm gonna risk some more shit by fucking picking Sean Strickland later, possibly, but I haven't done all the research yet. That video might be coming out in a day or two after this one. It's coming in a day or two after this one, no matter what. That's really it. Now that I think about it, we went through everything. It was short again. It was 11 fights, you know, which actually the last, including that one, I think the last 3 events were 11 fights, maybe not. But a lot of fights fell out for this. Some fights have already fallen out for the next event, UFC 298. Fuck it. Fuck it, though. I think those are going to be good fights. Maybe this might sound a little tweaky. Maybe those fights aren't going to be as good as last week's were. Magomed, Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker 2. But they should still be good fights on January 20th. I'm looking forward to them. Honestly, I'm really upset that I didn't fucking pick Preston Parsons, brother. That Preston Parsons pick would have been sweet, right? Like, God, I should have made the video on it, Spooky Hours. If I made the Spooky Hours video, I probably would have picked it. I haven't looked through I just skimmed the card. There are some Spooky Hours fights on the card on 298 coming up. I'm going to try to make a Spooky Hours video. I'm also going to try to make some more videos coming out soon. Basically, not necessarily just on fights or picks, but rather maybe why I decided to start making picks videos. Some maybe more abstract content. Maybe even some content completely unrelated to fighting. And if you want to see anything in particular, really it can be any kind of subject, any topic, any kind of style too. Like, I guess what I normally do is long form, unedited content, but any style. Please let me know. I'd love to do anything to entertain, and anything to entertain. So that was it. Fight Night Walker versus Ankalaev 2. We made it through. We saw it finally. It was here. Came. Not gonna lie, I had it felt like a quick card, didn't it? Like, first card. Now we have to wait what's gonna feel like a month for the next one, even though it's only next weekend. In fact, at the time of filming this, it's like 5 days away, but 5-6 days. I'm tweaking. It was great. 7-4. The Johnny Walker pick might haunt me a little bit, but honestly, actually no, it's not gonna haunt me at all. The real shit that haunts me is like I picked like fucking Martin Buday to beat Shamil Gaziev. That was like some tweaker. I was tweaking. I was bugged out. Preston Parsons, I wish I would have picked. Mario Batista, I should have went with my gut and just stuck with Mario Batista. I thought really it was going to be a cardio and straight up skill difference between the two. But no, I was completely wrong. Big shout out to Mario Batista. Massive improvements in both his game and his athleticism, both in his physical game. Like, it was just nothing else to say. If you watched this far, thank you very much. I always appreciate it. Please like the video if you like it. If you did not fuck with this video, please give it a dislike and let me know why you didn't fuck with it. Thanks for watching. Big kiss.